Athanasius and Chaponia went up the volcano to eat a stein of tequila. Athanasius, that's why I wouldn't do Jack and Jill. Yeah. Athanasius fell down and broke his leg, and Chaponia came coding after. So, you've all seen this silly game, right? And it's not super difficult, but would you agree this is something you couldn't do with HTML and CSS alone?
Take the data and use it.
Right, right. So if you look back at this thing, when it first starts, it's a form. Yeah? So there's a form here, and the form has a bunch of text inputs. For now, I'm only going to worry about text-based inputs because they're really easy to work with. And they can type stuff in. And then the cool thing about buttons, I mean, buttons have only one purpose in life, and that is to look clickable. To look like it's something I could click. And so when the user clicks a button, something amazing will happen. It's going to gather all this data from the form, it's going to do a little massaging, and it's going to print out onto the page the story. And what's really remarkable about this is a web page that can modify itself. Which is kind of a shocking thing when you think about it. So we're going to work our way up to this, and that'll be your next project, is to build your own method. Coolness? Okay. So let's get our way to that. We got some new things to learn. All right. So here's the first thing. Here's my web page. And it looks pretty straightforward. It has on it a button. You want to guarantee someone clicks a button, two things you could put on it. Don't click me or launch the missiles. And guaranteed somebody will click it. So should we click it? I will laugh in the face of danger. I said not to click me. Oh look, it popped up a little dialogue. It's interactive. Ooh, baby. Alright, this is it's not an AI yet, but it's something. Take a look at the code, Control U. Tell me what you see that's new.
Where is this located on your?
As always, if you start at the, if you start back here, the getting started with JavaScript, talking to the user, and all these examples are on one page. That one is the alert.html. So let's take a look at the source code again. What's new? Yeah. Well, what's really, I think the really important thing is this onClick. Hey, how you doing? Hey. Yeah. So we have a button, which we've had before. But the thing that's new is that we've given it a new attribute called onClick. And this one is special because all the other attributes we just gave text to or something, right? But this one is interesting because even without me explaining the code to you, what do you think this means? Because you've seen it work. That's right. So the alert is a special built-in function, a built-in tool that pops up that annoying little dialog box. And as a user, we hate those, right? Yes. But as a programmer, we like them because they're easy. So we'll start with it, but then we'll move to better stuff. Sound good? Because they're pretty easy to work with. So we said, alert, I said not to click me. And here's the really interesting thing here. Inside this pair of quotes, we've just suddenly switched languages again. We did that before. We got in the CSS tag, right? And now we're in CSS. Well, this is where it happens again. The onClick takes as its parameter a different language called JavaScript. And JavaScript is really important because that is the language built into all browsers that allows us to do interactive stuff. And so remember I said HTML not really a programming language, CSS not really a programming language but getting warmer, JavaScript, programming language. Now I've mentioned a couple of times yesterday the Java language. Java and JavaScript are like each other in exactly the same way that car and carpet are identical. Yes, car and carpet sound the same, but are they the same? No. Are they even related? Just an unfortunate coincidence in the names. And that's true of Java and JavaScript. Is one better than the other? No, not really. They're just designed for different jobs.
So the only part of that thing there that is JavaScript is the on-click.
Well, is the stuff inside these quotes.
Oh, it's just the stuff inside.
Yeah, the on-click is still HTML.
Okay.
But then the stuff that we give it, we're allowed to give it one line of JavaScript code, which will not be enough, but we can. There's a workaround. JavaScript. Just if you get on a forum, don't say you're learning Java when you're learning JavaScript, because people will yell at you and act all superior and stuff, which isn't really true. I mean, they're both good languages. They're just meant for different things. If you want to learn some Java, great, but maybe not today. All right. So inside the onClick, we get one free line of JavaScript code, which is enough to do something simple like this. But we'll probably want to do more with it. Do you agree? Okay, so let me show you what else we can do. Oh, what do I have here? Please type your name. Well, I'm going to enter my name. Andy. And nothing happens. It's all right. Sorry. Let's take a look at how I set this up. I do have input type as text, and ID is txt name. Remember, we said we wanted that before, but we never really needed it that much, right? Well, now that we're going to be doing some coding, we do need that. We need to give it an ID, because that's how we're going to figure out where to get stuff from the user. We cool? All right. And it still doesn't do anything yet, because I don't have an on-click on this button. Am I about to change that? You betcha I am. Okay, please type your name. We'll see if this is better. It says, hi there, thanks for clicking me. It still doesn't seem to recognize me, but at least it did something. Would you agree? Let's take a look at what we changed. And you know, what do you think? Even before you look at the code, you could probably guess. What did we change?
The on-click.
We added an on-click. Very nice. We alerted, hi there, thanks for clicking me. We good so far? All right. But what do we really want to do? We want to get the name out of this text field, and we want to greet the person like a personalized greeting, because we want to be a creepy robot. Make them think we love them. All right, here we go. Please type your name. Hi, Andy. It knows me. It loves me. I feel validated. We ready to see the code for this? Oh, wait, let's do the last one first, because I think I did change something. Yes, I did change something structurally.
That's empty in it.
Huh?
When they greet names, is that wrong?
Oh, you said, oh, it does say empty. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
All right, let's take a look at the code of this one. And certainly it seems this one doesn't do anything with the name yet, but I had changed the structure a little bit. What's different about the structure? Take a look at what's in the on-click.
That's parentheses.
There's parentheses there. It says greet with parentheses. Now, those parentheses are really cool because what that is an indication we're about to do a function. Who's our math teacher? We had a math teacher here. We love functions, yeah. Don't we love functions?
Oh, yes.
Oh, we do. And in programming, we love them even more. Because you pretty much, we do everything with functions. The problem is onClick only allows one line of JavaScript. What if we want to do more than one thing? Well, our one line could be a function. And a function is just a bag of code. That's all it is. We have a bunch of lines of code, we put it in a bag, we give it a name, bingo, that's a function. Is that a really useful thing? What did we do yesterday? We did lots. Okay, that was 3 words. And that summarized several hours of minor torture and a lot of mental anxiety and a little bit of fun. But you put it in 3 words. All right? We did a lot. Okay, that's 4 words. Yeah, that's a function. You take something complex and you encapsulate it, you put it in a bag, and you give it a name. You know, it might have been a better thing to say something like this. We learned some basic HTML, we learned basic CSS, we learned how to do CSS layouts, we learned how to make forms. But each of those things implied about 2 hours worth of work, didn't it? And so it's a normal thing for us to encapsulate ideas and give them shorter names, because that makes it easier for us to manage things. Do you agree? Don't worry, we've got a campfire song example coming up later. But I'm just going to say, hey, when I click, I want you to greet. We good? Now, look at what's happened at the top of the page, up there in our old friend, the header. What's happening there? Well, before we get to the function, notice I did something sneaky. Just like we could put CSS in the header, what else does it look like we can put in the header? JavaScript. And does this seem like a very powerful idea? Oh, yeah. The funny thing is when you look at, so, you know, I did a book on gaming and JavaScript and building games. Most of my games have 0 HTML. It's nothing but JavaScript. Maybe I'll have a couple of lines of HTML, but almost all, as you get more advanced, you do more and more with this because it's so powerful. But for now, we'll mix them up. And so I've got a JavaScript. Script type is text JavaScript / script. It feels a lot like the CSS style, and it's very similar. But now we're saying, hey, browser, from here to here, I'm switching languages again. I'm just that cool. Now I'm in JavaScript. You good? So JavaScript, new language, new syntax. It's a little stricter than the others. But it's still reasonably flexible as programming languages go. And so let's take a look and see if we can figure this out. Function greet, what do you suppose I'm doing there? I'm defining on this line, I'm just defining, hey, this is what it's going to mean to function. I'm teaching this computer how to do a new thing. When I ask you to greet, this is what I want you to do. Does that make sense? So when you're writing a function, you're teaching the computer a new trick. We're really creating a new command. I mean, these are like Legos that you can build new Legos with. That's a pretty powerful idea. So the greet, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to create a new command called greet. It doesn't take any parameters. I'm going to use these little mustache braces to separate it out so you can tell this is part of that whole thing. Does that make sense? And inside the mustache braces, we're going to indent. Why do we indent? It makes our life a lot easier when things get crazy. You suppose we're going to have other stuff inside here? Oh, yeah. All right, and then inside here, I can put as many lines of JavaScript code as I want. Right now, I've just got the one, alert, hi there, thanks for clicking me. We do in JavaScript use a semicolon at the end like we did with CSS. And it's really just like a period in English. I'm done with this thought. We okay? So, interesting thing, from the user's point of view, nothing interesting happened. But in terms of the structure of the page, have we made some significant changes to the way the page is structured internally? Yeah, and that happens a lot. Okay, now let's make it actually do what we want. Please type your name, Andy, and friends, submit. Hi, Andy and friends. Now it knows all of us. Now let's take a look at this. Okay, what's different? What do you see?
Variable at the top.
Yeah, line 8 starts with that keyword var. And var stands for variable. Again, the math people are like, woohoo, I'm in my happy place. Yeah, we have variables in math, right? Usually it's x, and x can't find squat. It's like Dora the Explorer. I mean, we can never find it. Where's x? That's right. But our variables in programming, although they can be like math variables, they don't have to be. For one thing, we can use more than one letter. Thank goodness for that. And in fact, I generally encourage you to use full words in your variable names so you can remember what they're for. You okay with that? So we got a variable here, and this particular variable is called txt name. So what it is going to represent something. Now, a variable could represent a number. That makes sense, right? That's what we do in math all the time. But a variable could also represent text. Now, programmers never say text, though. We say string. It makes it sound cooler. But because it reminded the early computer scientists of the way that beads are attached to a string, how text is stored in memory. So we could have text, we could have numbers, we can also have objects. And objects are just things. That's not very helpful, Andy. Okay. This is going to represent, actually, this text box. Not Andy and friends, not the contents of the text box, but the text box itself. It's a really powerful idea that a variable can represent a thing, or it can represent text, or it can represent numbers. And there's a few other things, but those are the most important ones.
Which variable is representing that?
Let's take a look at it again.
Which of your, is it document, text name, document, which one of those?
This is the variable, txt name, and I called it txt name so I could remember that this is the text box that contains the name. That's just the convention that I typically use.
Is it tied in any way to the label?
Not to the label, but it is tied to that text box. Take a look at the text box. What's its ID? txt name. So I have a variable in JavaScript that's going to be the same as this ID in my HTML. And this is why we made those. Yeah? So typically what you'll do is when you're writing a piece of code and you want to have access to an object, you give it an ID, and then you make a variable that's the same as that ID. We're in different languages, so I need to tell it, hey, JavaScript, I want you to know what txt name is. You okay with this? It'll make more sense as I finish the line. Yeah?
So the document.get element blah, all that, is that what defines that physical box?
Yes. Here's what this means. Document.get element by ID says, hey, JavaScript, go out to the web page that I live in and find me the thing that has the ID of txt name. Make sense?
No.
Okay.
So is that referencing something else that exists?
Yes, it's referencing this thing right here.
But
So document is a, let me back it up. Document is a built-in thing that all JavaScript in a browser has. You okay with that? There's just a thing called document that is built into JavaScript. Document is an object and it has a lot of really cool things. One of the cool things that it has is a method called getElementById. And what this thing does, if you want to just say document.getElementById and memorize that, fine. What that does is that says, hey, look at the HTML that I live with and find me something that has an ID of txt name. Is there such a thing on this page? You see it? I kind of highlighted it to make it easy. So since these are little different worlds, we have to tell the JavaScript how to get access to the HTML. Maybe it shouldn't be that way, but it is.
But I think the question is like the box itself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like kind of like something that has been uploaded as a picture? Is it something that we have created somewhere?
We made it right here. This is the thing we did this yesterday.
Just with a normal like
Just
text
an
box.
ordinary input box, or really any element in HTML
Okay.
that you give an ID to. We can get access to it through JavaScript with the document.getElementById. And that's why we used IDs yesterday. One was to help us with CSS sometimes. Another reason is when we're doing JavaScript, I can now write JavaScript code that on the fly manipulates any object in my web page. Remember, this is a web page that can change itself. That's how it's going to do it. I can get access to these elements, these HTML elements, and I can query stuff from them, and I can modify them. That's a very powerful idea, isn't it? It's a little shocking. Yeah?
Maybe my brain's just not awake enough yet this morning.
Uh-huh.
Where in the script, in that program you have, I know that's the wrong word,
Oh, that's fine.
that you have on the screen, where is the physical identification of that box?
Right there.
Put it in
Input
like
type
that.
equals-
But that's just text name. Where does it say text name means a box that's certain number of characters long, certain characters wide? There's
Okay.
got to be some physical description of that box.
Some of that was built, well, you didn't ask that when we were doing HTML, right? When we were doing HTML, we said input type is text, and it made a text box, and you were happy. Yeah?
Okay.
Same thing. The only difference now is that we now can get access to it in another way.
But how does it know how? Okay.
That
We
was
could still write CSS.
But how does it know how big of a box to make?
In text area, we did rows and columns.
Yeah.
This was
In
just
text, in the text box, we did.
This doesn't care what size it is. I can still do CSS to change what its size is or what its color is and so on.
This is just
Is that not helping you? Yeah.
So if you have another box,
Mm-hmm.
you could name it text name 2.
Sure. Or
And
maybe I'd
so
call it
then-
text phone because it contains a phone number.
So then that's your other box to
Right.
differentiate.
As you think about the game we're going to write here, right? I'm going to have text boy name, txt girl name, txt geologic formation. So I'm going to need a lot of those. And I want to be able to differentiate them, get stuff out of each of them. Yeah.
I might just be jumping ahead here, but if we were going to put CSS in here also,
Mhm.
the style, would it go before script or after script, does it matter?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter. Yeah, you can do it either way. You can still do CSS. You see why I'm skipping that for now, though.
Yeah,
Because I don't really care.
yeah.
Okay, let me move forward a little bit and see if it clears up when we get this thing finished. See if that helps you a little bit. Cool? A little bit of cognitive dissonance is exactly normal and expected. Can you be okay with that? It takes a while for all this to sort of sink in. And certainly you haven't seen this whole, even this little simple one, we haven't taken it to its full conclusion. So let's do that and see if that helps a bit. All right, so can you accept now, maybe just on faith, that this now is a link to the thing defined here? You okay with that? We all good? Okay, we're just going to agree to that.
We'll
Okay.
take your word for it.
All right, that's good. That's good. Because I'll prove it next.
Okay.
What I really want isn't that, but I want to know what's inside it. Right? Yes, Andy? That's what we want. Come on, we got another 6.5 hours, so stay with me now. All right. So what I really want is to know what the thing inside that text box is. What did they type? That's what I really care about. You following? Okay, so now I'm going to make another variable called username. And this contains the actual thing that got typed in there. Does that make sense? Take a look at this. TXT name, well, that is an object. That is a text box object. How do I know? Because I made it, darn it. And the thing typed in was the value. Remember we could put a value in here when we made it in HTML? We can also retrieve or change that value with JavaScript code. Whoa. That's pretty crazy. This is what I'm doing. Whatever is typed in there, I want you to take that and copy it over to this new variable I've created called username. You okay with that so far? So this is a two-step process, but it makes some sense. First, I need to get access to the object on the screen, and then I want to go get the content of that thing so I can mess with it. You okay? Yes?
Is value a method to this object of text?
It is a property. You object-oriented cyber stud muffin, you.
The vocabulary.
Yeah, I don't want to get too tied up in object-oriented vocabulary because we've got so much other stuff going on. But if you already know it, yes, this is a property. A method would be a function attached to the object. A property is a variable attached to the object.
Okay.
If you have no idea what I'm talking about, cool, you're still winning. It's fine. At some point, we'll want to care about that, but how about not now? You all right with that? But yes, I'll try to use the right terms. Let's see. So now I have this username. There's something really sneaky that I did there. I don't know if you noticed it.
The capitals?
In both of these cases, well, the capitals, that's one sneaky thing. What's that about? I kind of mentioned that yesterday.
No spaces.
Yeah, I'm using a camel case, right? Because if we use more than one word, the space really messes up our life. And so when we want to have a variable that feels like it ought to be 2 words, then we typically make it lowercase and just use uppercase to separate words. That's called camel case, like the humps, you know, Alice the camel has 5 humps. So here's the sneaky thing. When I read these 2 lines, line 8 and line 9, I did not use the term equals. Did you notice that? You didn't. Okay, I'm going to read it again. var txt name gets document.getElement by ID. var username gets txtname.value. When I'm reading this equal sign, I'm not saying equals, I'm saying gets. Why?
Because it's going to access something. Grab it.
You know how to give a math teacher an aneurysm? Okay, any self-respecting algebra teacher, well, their head will explode. Right? Yet that's a completely legal statement in programming. And why is that? Well, what did I write on the board?
X plus
So
X equals
It depends on how you read it. And I'm both a math and computer guy, so I could hurt myself. If I read that as a math guy, I would say, well, that says x equals x plus 1. Which means we've just gotten very close to a black hole. The laws of space and time have broken down. This is a bad thing. X can't equal x plus 1. Except for extremely large values of x. But a programmer would read this slightly differently. In most languages, the single equal sign is not about comparison. It's about assignment. And so what I'm really saying, I think a better symbol would have been this, but not all languages have it. Take x, add 1 to it, pour it back into x. And that's why when I see a single equal sign in most programming languages, I'll read that as gets. To remind myself, this is an assignment statement, not an equality statement. Does that make sense? Will we get to comparisons? Will we get to equality? Oh yeah, sometime after lunch. Maybe before that. We'll see. So this is an assignment. I'm getting something and I'm assigning it over to this variable. I'm getting something else and assigning it to that variable. You okay with that idea? A lot of new stuff here in a tiny few set of lines. But you can follow. You can follow. You're smart. Is it starting to make some sense?
yeah.
Okay. Now let's see what else we can do. And I'm going to alert something. Hi plus username plus exclamation point. Huh? What sort of thing is quote hi end quote? Is that a number?
Text.
It's text. Good. Or okay, what do we say? String. String. Oh, whew. Little chills. Okay, you sound like programmer. Say it again. String.
String.
All right, good. String. Does it make sense to add strings?
Sure.
You want to make sense.
What?
I'm sorry.
Isn't adding a mathematical operation? That is a concept that will come back to us. Adding is a mathematical operation. But if you could add strings, what would it be like?
Combine.
Smooching them together. Yeah, combining. Okay, we got a good word for that. Ready? I'm already going to give you a vocabulary so when you're calling home, what did you learn, honey? Well, today I learned string concatenation.